So it looks like it's going down, and it's actually happening this September. We've got an update recently from Mr. Nate the Hate on Twitter, where he talked about the upcoming rumored Nintendo Direct and pretty much confirmed what Switchforce, VGC, and others pretty much that just know that Nintendo always does September Nintendo Directs. It's pretty much happening at this point. We got an update from Mr. Nate the Hate, and he states this: yes, there is a Nintendo Direct in September, when the second week of the month in the latter half on or around September 11th or 12th. So that is spot on, exactly what Switchforce was saying when he said that it's going to be on a day that you would not expect. And there's actually a couple different ways of looking at that, so I want to go over exactly what that means, or in terms of what Switchforce said. Now, he did state that it was the 12th overall, but September 11th, 9/11, that is a pretty, I would say, devastating type of day. Obviously, the terror attacks a number of decades ago, so I'm not sure if Nintendo would have it on that day, but I do think that, yes, around that time period does seem to be likely, now that we have Switchforce, VGC, in addition to Nate the Hate, all stating that there will be a Nintendo Direct on September 11th or 12th. So what does that entail for you, the gamers out there? What does that mean? Well, traditionally speaking, because this is something that even if you don't have inside sources, traditionally speaking, Nintendo has had Directs in September. Now, there's a lot of questions that people are asking. Is it a general Direct? Is it a Mario Direct? Is it a themed game Direct? And I would probably state, based off of what we've already gotten this year on the Nintendo Switch 2, we've already gotten a partner showcase. We've already gotten an indie show. We've already gotten a themed Direct when it comes to actually multiple themed Direct based on different games. So I would guess this is going to be the first official post Nintendo Switch 2 launch big general Direct based off of just the numbers game and looking what we already have. So expect a general Direct. Plus, another reason why I think that this is a general Direct is because we still have a variety or a number of games that need to be announced. Look at all the different stuff that is not necessarily dated, more like it. Yeah, I should say dated. Look at all the stuff. Elden Ring, no date. Final Fantasy VII Remake, no date on that. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, no date on that. Splatoon Raiders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Supergiant Games Hades 2, which is highly anticipated as well. No date on that. And that's just stuff that we know about. When it comes to the games that we don't know about, the announcements, there's clearly going to be new games, new reveals, new stuff to talk about, and Nintendo's going to want to set up not only the holiday for the Nintendo Switch 2, but also early 2026 as well. Nintendo is really trying to make sure that these holiday sales really go hard overall. They really need to make sure that, because with the Nintendo Switch 2, they obviously have just one system that they're counting on when it comes to their video game business. Now, Nintendo's obviously expanded out to other things, so yes, they are still dependent on that, but it's not as bad as it used to be. But at the same time, they've got to have a great holiday. I do think, though, with Kirby Air Riders, that is November 20th. With Pokemon Legends ZA, that is October 16th. I think that with those two games, along with Metroid, along with Final Fantasy, along with potentially even other third-party games that are coming. Obviously, we have stuff from third-party developers like Persona 3 Reload and more that are coming out. September's a big month with Daemon X Machina, Silk Song, in addition to Trails in the Sky. I think that Nintendo's going to be just fine heading into the holiday period, especially in Japan, where it's essentially you can't get one. Like, they're sold out every single time. They're still doing lotteries and all of that. So it's going to be a big holiday season. We did get the numbers coming in from the June and July, more like July NPD just recently. Nintendo Switch 2 has already become the best-selling system for the year. And remember, it came out in early June, and it's already the best-selling system for the year. So it didn't track, obviously, because it wasn't out. So January, February, March, April, May, none of those sales, Switch 2 just didn't exist. But the fact that it's the best selling right now shows you that there is an appetite, there is a market, and there are people who do want something a bit different. Plus, you've got all of those Nintendo Switch 1 owners that are looking to upgrade at some point. When they see a certain game that they like, or when their franchise comes over, they'll be like, okay, now I'll go ahead and pick it up. And of course, we're going to see more games rolling out that's going to help with that. Now, what could possibly be at this Nintendo Direct? I will have a bigger prediction show as we get a confirmation and everything, but I do want to go over just a number of games that we could see. And I already talked about all the different stuff that's already been announced and been at previous Nintendo Directs and Nintendo showcases. So all that stuff from Elden Ring and Final Fantasy and Splatoon Raiders, all that stuff should be there. Metroid Prime 4 should get a release date as well. Plus, we should see a bit more on Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Probably get a release date on that and get some more gameplay trailers and more stuff with that game. So that's all good. That's all good stuff. Kirby Air Riders already got a blowout of information, so maybe a small or short trailer for that. So I do think that going into this Nintendo Direct, expect to see some other stuff. Red Dead Redemption 2, that is a possibility as well. We could also see other stuff from Nintendo. We still need to wait and see about Fire Emblem 4 Remake. Now, I know I've talked about this. I'm pretty much the YouTuber who cried wolf at this point when it comes to Fire Emblem 4 Remake. We got a little bit of a joke with that game in my stream, but I do think that it might be time finally for that game to be revealed, and it could be an early 2026 type of release. So I would say that Fire Emblem is a possibility. Now, it is the Mario 40th anniversary. I still don't know how Nintendo wants to do this. Are they going to have a segment within the Nintendo Direct that says, hey, we're celebrating Mario's 40th anniversary with this, this, and this? Or are they going to do a whole separate Nintendo Direct focused on the Mario 40th anniversary? There's different ways they can go about it. I personally would love to just see a short but sweet segment on the Mario 40th. Unless they have a bunch of stuff to reveal, then you can take it and make it as its separate thing. But I do think that having it as part of this direct could be pretty cool. 5-6 minutes on Mario related games and projects going on, and then you can move on to the next thing as well. Now, could there be the next big 3D Mario game announced? That is what everyone is going to be anticipating or talking about, because as great as the Nintendo Switch 2's first 6 months will be with the amount of games that are coming out, because it's a lot of games, there still aren't some of the biggest, heaviest hitters from the Nintendo Switch 1. New 3D Mario, new 3D Zelda, new Super Smash Bros. Game, new Animal Crossing, and new Gen 10 Pokemon. Those are the big 5 when it comes down to that. Now, we did get Mario Kart, which has been huge, over 5 million plus units sold, and continues to sell with that bundle. So that's one of them when it comes to the big games that really pushed the Nintendo Switch 1, the best sellers. But Nintendo's heaviest hitters outside of Mario Kart still have not been announced or launched for the system, and that's why I think that this system is going to continue selling really well, because those big heavy hitters that contributed to over 100 million plus in sales overall. If you look at Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, 3D Mario, Super Smash Bros., Animal Crossing, and Pokemon, those are hundreds of millions of units all combined together that pushed the Nintendo Switch 1 and made it the system in terms of the sales and everything. And I didn't even include another major system seller, and that's Splatoon. Yeah, we've got the 4K update for Splatoon 3 on the Nintendo Switch 2, but there's still probably going to be a brand new Splatoon 4 game where they really truly take some crazy and innovative ideas outside of what they've already done. So that is another 10 million plus seller on previous Nintendo systems that could come through on the Nintendo Switch 2 and be huge when it comes to everything, especially if you're looking at the Japanese sales once again. So when those games get announced, that's when really we start to get cooking overall for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I do think at least one of those games out of those that I talked about will be announced, and I'm guessing it's the next big 3D Mario. I think that's really what's going to be happening here with this. I think that is going to be the big game that they talk about, whether it's the Mario 40th anniversary for September, but that's probably going to be the focus. And I do think that it's possible that that is a early 2026 game or mid 2026 game, because we got Donkey Kong Bonanza, which was fantastic. Game of the year when it comes to nominees. I think it's a Game of the Year nominee. It's one of my finalists for sure, along with Clay Obscure, Expedition 33. We've had a good year for games overall, and there's a bunch of other cool games that are coming out that'll be in the mix for me as well. Metroid Prime, Ghost of Yotei. There's a lot of great stuff, but you guys all know the bread and butter, what makes the Nintendo system the system. You gotta have that big 3D Mario game. That is gonna be a centerpiece of what the Nintendo Switch 2 is, and probably sell the system for the duration of the system's life. Just like most Mario games do, Mario usually does a lot of heavy lifting with things. Obviously, there's other games that help out too, but Mario's usually the big one. Super Mario Odyssey, that game sold 30 million, and clearly gamers are going to be highly anticipating what they're going to do with the next Mario game, because it's been 7-8 years plus since the last one. So I do think that that's going to be the one big one out of the best sellers from the Nintendo Switch 1 to get some type of tease or reveal. I think that Gen 10 Pokemon, they're going to announce it early next year, and they're going to launch it later in the year, probably November. They've been working on that game as well, but this year it's about Pokemon Legends ZA and what that game is going to do with the bundle overall. Now, when it comes to what else Nintendo could have, people are talking about Metroid Prime 4 release date, which I do think that is a given, but I feel that Metroid Prime 4 is going to have some other things. There might be a little bit of segment there, and they're going to shadow drop Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3. Nintendo currently has no games set for September. I wonder why they have no games set for September. Well, one, because there's a bunch of really high-profile third-party games coming out in September, or at least high-profile to Nintendo fans, with games like Silk Song, Trails in the Sky, Daemon X Machina. So there's already a number of good games coming. Even stuff like the casual side FIFA or NBA 2K, those games are coming as well. But man, the big thing here though is that is perfect for a shadow drop of some older games, like a Pikmin 2, Pikmin 3 type of thing. Or even if you go back to the original Nintendo Switch 1 and Metroid Prime 1 remastered, that got shadow dropped right after the show when it comes to a Nintendo Direct. So I think it's very much possible that Nintendo follows in that footsteps to kind of get the hype going and say, hey, look, you can now go download Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3, and Metroid Prime 4 comes out on October this, or November this, even maybe December. But I do think it's still dropping this year. I don't think that it's changed from that based off the multiple demos. I could be wrong on that one, but I still feel that it's set for this year because they've already showed off the game multiple times. It plays great, it runs great, it looks great. It's time for Metroid Prime 4. So I think that's definitely going to be a thing as well. So overall, I think it's going to be a solid show. Now, third-party stuff, there could be anything at this point. It's hard to tell what we're going to see from third-party games and all of that. I know, like, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, that's been something that people want to see. Metaphor Refantasio, that's something that people want to see. RPG gamers out there, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, that's something that I would love to see on there. Something like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, maybe some more Yakuza games like a Dragon, stuff like that could come over. Tales of Arise potentially. So there's a number of different type of games, but I don't think everything is going to be announced at that show. I think that it's going to be spread out throughout the generation where you're going to get that surprise announcement here and there, whether it's at partner showcases or at Nintendo Directs. Nintendo usually has around 2 to 3 normal Directs per a year, plus a couple partner showcases here or there. And then some third-party developers just announce games on their own as well. So I think that's what we're going to see. Don't go in expecting the house to be thrown at the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes to games coming out, because the install base just isn't quite there yet. They're going to spread it out, just kind of like how we saw with the Nintendo Switch 1. But the difference was that third-party developers scrambled to actually get games on the Nintendo Switch 1 after the huge success, whereas with this time, they all knew that it was going to be a success and prepared their engines and prepared their developers' resources, allocations, budgets to make sure that they could actually supply games within the first year or two of the system. And then probably down the line, like if they felt maybe it's not doing so well, they can pull that support. But clearly the system is going to sell well, the system's going to do well. So that's why you're seeing stuff like Daemon X Machina, Trails, Silk Song, all these different types of games that we're getting from third-party developers in the first number of months that you just did not see on the Nintendo Switch 1 because they did not believe in that system. So it's exciting to see everything that's happening here. I'm looking forward to this now at this point. I mean, I already felt that I could trust Switch Force based on him getting the last Nintendo partner showcase or getting the last Nintendo Indie. I think it was the Indie show. Yeah, he got the Indie show correct. So I felt that he was being pretty solid there. He doubled down on it as well. So if he doubles down, then I'm pretty sure that he got some solid piece of information that the Nintendo Direct is happening. But now with Nate the Hate swooping through at this point, I mean, it's pretty much all but confirmed overall. But it's not an official confirmation, but it looks like it's going to be happening. I don't think Nate the Hate would say this unless he felt completely solid that it was going to happen and what he said wouldn't affect when it actually happens. Because sometimes Nintendo might just pull the rug out from underneath if they felt that the surprise would be ruined. So I think Nate felt confident that it was going to be set, stone clad, at that date, at that time. I think that's the reason why he actually came out and said something. But I also think that he also said something because he's been getting pestered nonstop. Probably people asking him questions like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Is this happening? What do you think? And all that. So yeah, I think that that's part of it as well. But looks like it's going to be happening, guys. We're in September pretty much at this point. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens at this next Nintendo Direct and all the games that are going to be revealed, because I'm having a blast with the Nintendo Switch 2. I think it's one of the better systems that Nintendo has ever released overall. So what do you guys think about this potential Nintendo Direct and what could be happening around September 11th to the 12th? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.